You want to know what a $2 billion defense contract sounds like when it dies? It doesn't scream, it just goes silent. I was sitting in my F-150 outside Aerospace at 11:15 a.m. on a Wednesday in March, watching through my laptop as the Phoenix defense system locked itself down in front of a room full of Pentagon officials. The production line went dark, the quality alert started flashing red, and Gabriel Morrison's career imploded in real time. The best part? He had no idea I was watching or that I'd triggered the whole thing from my parking spot 8 blocks away. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up to 8:30 a.m. when Gabriel fired me for refusing to sign off on falsified safety certifications. That's when this whole thing started. Though honestly, I'd been planning for this day since the moment they hired that consultant. My name's Maxwell Rodriguez, 49 years old, divorced dad, 22 years building aircraft for this country. Started right out of the Air Force, worked my way up to Chief Quality Engineer at Aerospace. The Phoenix wasn't just my job, it was 15 years of my professional life. The most advanced unmanned defense system the military had ever seen, protecting our troops overseas while keeping American manufacturing jobs at home. See, Phoenix wasn't like the drones you see on TV. This system could operate autonomously for 72 hours straight, making split-second decisions that could save or cost American lives. Every circuit board, every sensor array, every piece of software had to be perfect. Not 99% perfect, 100% perfect. Because when you're protecting a convoy in Afghanistan or monitoring a terrorist cell in Syria, good enough gets people killed. I'd spent 15 years building quality control protocols that ensured Phoenix systems rolled off our assembly line ready for anything the enemy could throw at them. Temperature extremes from Arctic cold to desert heat, electronic warfare attempts, physical damage from small arms fire. Every Phoenix unit went through 847 individual quality checkpoints before it got shipped to our troops. That Wednesday morning, I walked into Gabriel's corner office thinking we were going to discuss the final safety review for the Pentagon contract renewal. The original contract was worth $800 million over 3 years. This renewal would bump it to $2 billion over 5 years, enough to secure jobs for 400 American workers well into the next decade. Instead, I found Gabriel pacing behind his glass desk like a caged animal, sweating through his $3,000 suit despite the air conditioning running full blast. The man was under pressure, no doubt about it. A Wright's stock price had been sliding for 6 months as investors questioned whether we could compete with cheaper overseas manufacturers. Maxwell, sit down. No coffee offer this time, no small talk about Owen's baseball season or my weekend fishing trips. That should have been my first warning. We need to talk about operational efficiency, he said. Corporate speak for we're about to screw you over. I'd heard that phrase before in the Air Force when some Pentagon paper pusher wanted to replace American contractors with cheaper foreign alternatives. I've brought in a consultant, Gabriel continued, his eyes avoiding mine. Someone who understands global markets and cost optimization strategies. That's when she walked in. Aria Palmer, 27 years old, fresh MBA from some online university, carrying a tablet and that fake confidence they teach you in business school. I knew her type immediately. All theory, zero practical experience. The kind of person who thinks manufacturing is just numbers on a spreadsheet instead of real people building real things that save real lives. Mr. Rodriguez, she chirped, already swiping on her tablet like she was ordering coffee. I've been analyzing your quality control processes. Very thorough, but frankly outdated for today's competitive landscape. I looked at Gabriel, waiting for him to explain what exactly was happening here. But he just stared at his hands, letting this kid with her fresh degree take the lead in a conversation about 15 years of my professional expertise. Aria has identified significant cost savings, Gabriel finally said, his eyes lighting up like a slot machine hitting jackpot. We can reduce production costs by 40% by moving final assembly to our partner facility in Juarez. Partner facility? I kept my voice level, but my gut was already churning. You mean outsourcing? Modernizing, Aria corrected, like she was teaching a slow student. The Mexican facility meets all baseline requirements. We just need to adjust some of the more excessive quality protocols to industry standards. She slid her tablet across the desk. The screen showed quality certification forms, my forms, with red marks all over them like a teacher grading a failed exam. These inspection requirements are 200% above FAA minimums. We can streamline the process significantly while maintaining full compliance. I scrolled through the modifications and my blood pressure started climbing with each line item. Every safety checkpoint I'd built over 15 years, every lesson learned from near misses and equipment failures, marked for deletion. They wanted me to sign off on drone systems that would carry American pilots' lives with half the quality control. Temperature stress testing cut from 48 hours to 12. Vibration analysis reduced from full spectrum to basic frequencies. Electronic warfare resistance simplified to meet industry baseline standards. These weren't efficiency improvements. They were shortcuts that would get people killed. "I can't approve this," I said, sliding the tablet back across Gabriel's desk. "These safety protocols exist for a reason. The Phoenix isn't a consumer product. It's defending our troops in active combat zones." Gabriel's face went hard, and I could see the decision forming behind his eyes. This wasn't a negotiation anymore. This was an ultimatum. "Maxwell, the board has made this decision. Your job is to implement it, not question it. My job is to ensure these systems won't fail when someone's life depends on them." "Your job," Arya interjected with the confidence of someone who'd never had to live with the consequences of their decisions, "is whatever Mr. Morrison determines it to be. This is basic chain of command." Chain of command. This kid was lecturing me about chain of command? I'd spent 12 years in the Air Force learning what real chain of command meant. Protecting the people under you, not throwing them under the bus for quarterly profits. "I won't sign these certifications," I said, my voice steady despite the fury building in my chest. "Not as they're written." Gabriel reached for his desk phone without breaking eye contact. "Then you're no longer aligned with company objectives. Security will escort you out." The whole termination process took exactly 18 minutes. 2 security guards, good guys I'd worked with for years, walked me down to my office while Gabriel's assistant called HR to start the paperwork. Rick Torres and Dale Murphy both looked uncomfortable as hell, but they had families to feed and mortgages to pay. I understood. "This is garbage, Maxwell," Rick muttered as we walked down the hallway. "Everyone knows you're the best engineer in the building." "Company's changing," Dale added quietly. "Not for the better." My office looked exactly the same as it had 2 hours earlier when I'd been a respected chief quality engineer instead of an escorted security risk. Pictures of Owen at his baseball games lined my desk. Him sliding into home plate at last month's regional championship, getting his MVP trophy at the awards banquet, both of us at a Rangers game last summer when they actually won for once. There was my old unit photo from Ramstein Air Base, the original Phoenix development team, working 20-hour days in that converted hangar we'd rented back in 2009, and my coffee mug that Owen had given me for Father's Day. World's okayest dad. 15 minutes to pack up 15 years of my professional life. I grabbed the personal stuff first, photos, the mug, that small American flag Owen had made me in 3rd grade when they did a unit on veterans. But what I really needed was already in my jacket pocket. A USB drive that looked like any other storage device, but contained something Gabriel had never bothered to investigate. That drive held the original patent filings for Phoenix's quality control architecture, the licensing agreements I'd carefully structured through my own engineering company, and most importantly, the administrative keys to every quality protocol in the system. "Don't take any company property," some HR rep announced from my doorway, reading from a checklist like I was a common thief instead of the guy who'd spent 15 years keeping their billion-dollar contracts from falling apart. "Everything I need is right here," I said, patting my jacket pocket where the USB drive sat next to my truck keys. "See, here's what Gabriel and his board of cost-cutting geniuses never understood about the Phoenix system. When my ex-wife Zara got diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer 6 years ago, the medical bills started piling up faster than my A-Right salary could handle them. That's when I set up Rodriguez Engineering Solutions, LLC, with my mother Luna as the primary stakeholder. Every patent I filed, every manufacturing innovation, every quality control algorithm that made Phoenix actually work, I made sure it went through my LLC, not A-Right. Completely legal, completely documented, and filed with the patent office in a way that gave A-Right licensing rights but not ownership. As long as I remained employed under acceptable conditions, they could use everything I'd built. But if those conditions changed? The walk to the parking garage felt like a funeral march. Rick and Dale flanked me like honor guards, both of them looking like they'd rather be anywhere else on Earth. As the elevator doors closed, I pulled out my phone and sent a quick text to my core team. Storm incoming. Batten down the hatches. Watch the 2 p.m. demo real careful. Sophia Martinez, my lead manufacturing engineer and probably the smartest person in the building, texted back immediately. What did you do, Maxwell? Nothing yet. But they're about to find out what happens when you mess with American defense manufacturing. My F-150 had never felt more like a command center. I fired up my laptop right there in the parking garage and logged into Phoenix's quality control interface, not through the company network, but through the back channels I'd built into the system from day one. The screen came to life with a simple message. Welcome, System Architect. All protocols operational. Quality Level 7, armed and ready. Quality Level 7. While Gabriel and his board had been celebrating each new government contract, I'd been quietly building something they didn't even know existed. A safeguard system wired directly into Phoenix's manufacturing heart. The logic was elegant in its simplicity. If the primary quality engineer's employment status changed to terminated without proper safety protocol transfer, Phoenix would automatically lock down everything. No production, no testing, no billion-dollar demonstrations until the ownership dispute got resolved through proper legal channels. I checked my watch. 9:15 a.m. Gabriel's Pentagon demonstration was scheduled for 2 p.m. sharp. He'd have a conference room full of colonels and defense procurement officials watching him show off technology he thought belonged to him. Time to teach him the difference between licensing something and actually owning it. My phone buzzed with a call from my older brother Reed, former Navy Chief Petty Officer, now works federal contracting oversight for the Defense Department. He'd been expecting this call for months. How bad? He asked without any greeting. They want to outsource final assembly to Mexico. Some consultant with a fake MBA thinks quality control is just expensive paperwork. Reed's voice went hard. He'd lost friends to equipment failures caused by cost-cutting contractors. What's your move, little brother? I showed him the laptop screen through the phone camera. Dead man's switch. One keystroke, and Phoenix recognizes that its primary quality engineer is no longer employed. How long until their dog and pony show? 4 hours and 45 minutes until Gabriel tries to impress the Pentagon with technology he just lost access to. Reed's laugh had that Navy edge to it. This is gonna be educational. Need backup? Actually, yeah. Can you swing by Holden Cross's Union Hall? Think it's time we had a conversation about protecting American jobs. On my way. This consultant got a name? Aria Palmer. Claims she has an MBA, but Holden's been doing some research. I'll bring the files. See you in 20. I drove downtown thinking about Owen, about the future I wanted to build for him in a world where corporations were perfectly willing to sacrifice safety for profit margins. My phone buzzed with a text from him during his lunch break. Dad, heard some weird rumors at school about layoffs at your company. Everything okay? I smiled as I typed back. Everything's about to be better than okay, son. Your old man just reminded some people why they shouldn't mess with engineers who know how to build things right the first time. Awesome. Can't wait to hear the story. Got to get to chemistry class. Holden Cross's Union Hall looked like it had been there since the 1940s, all brick and steel with American flags hanging from every available surface. The kind of place where men who built things with their hands came to protect their livelihoods from corporate types who saw workers as line items on a spreadsheet. Holden himself was pouring coffee from a pot that had seen better decades when Reed and I walked in, former machinist, now local 847 representative, and the kind of guy who could spot corporate BS from 3 counties away. Maxwell, he said, extending a hand that felt like a vice grip. Reed filled me in on your morning. Heard Gabriel finally showed his true colors. Cost me my job. But yeah, maybe not. Holden pulled out a manila folder thick with documents. Been doing some research on your girlfriend, Aria Palmer, since Gabriel brought her in last month. He spread the papers across a wooden table that had probably hosted union meetings since Eisenhower was president. Turns out her MBA came from Pacific Coast University Online. You know what happened to Pacific Coast last year? I shook my head. Shut down by the Department of Education. Fraudulent accreditation, fake degrees, the whole 9 yards. Your consultants got credentials that wouldn't pass a basic background check. Reed whistled low. Gabriel hired someone with a fake degree to redesign defense manufacturing protocols. Gets better. Holden flipped to another page. The Juarez facility she's recommending failed their last 4 safety inspections. Mexican authorities won't even certify them for civilian aircraft production, much less military systems. This was perfect. Not only was Gabriel about to lose the biggest contract in company history, but he'd based that decision on advice from someone whose degree was worth less than the paper it was printed on. How many jobs we talking about if this outsourcing goes through? I asked. 412 American workers, Holden said, his voice carrying the weight of every family that would be affected. Average age 44, most of them been with the company 10 to 15 years. These aren't entry-level positions. We're talking skilled machinists, electronics technicians, quality inspectors, people who've spent their careers learning how to build things right. Reed leaned forward. What's your timeline? I checked my watch. 12:30 p.m. Gabriel's demonstration starts at 2 p.m. Pentagon procurement team, full dog and pony show. He's planning to announce the Juarez partnership as a cost-saving innovation. Not if Phoenix won't run, Holden grinned. You really built a dead man's switch into the whole system? Quality level 7, I confirmed. Every manufacturing protocol, every safety check, every line of production code requires continuous verification from the primary quality engineer. When that verification stops, the whole thing shuts down, Reed finished. That's beautiful, little brother. At exactly 1 p.m., I activated the protocol with a single keystroke. Every Phoenix system in the facility began its safety lockdown sequence. Not all at once. That would have been too obvious. Instead, the shutdown rolled through the production line like a slow-motion avalanche. Assembly stations requiring quality engineer authorization simply stopped working. The technicians would try to override the lockdowns, but they'd find themselves locked out of critical systems. Quality verification protocols would demand credentials that no longer existed in A-Right's database. Production would grind to a halt, and there wouldn't be a damn thing Gabriel or his fake MBA consultant could do about it. Through my laptop, I watched the A-Right conference room fill with Pentagon officials, defense contractors, and enough combined authority to approve weapon systems worth more than most countries' entire GDP. Colonel Sarah Palmer led the procurement team, a woman who'd been evaluating defense systems since before Gabriel got out of business school. Gabriel stood at the head of the polished conference table, confident as a poker player holding 4 aces. Arya sat beside him with her tablet, probably updating her LinkedIn profile to include defense industry consultant as her latest accomplishment. Ladies and gentlemen, Gabriel began, his practiced presentation voice echoing off the conference room walls. What you're about to see isn't just out to manufacturing efficiency. It's the future of American defense production, streamlined for the global marketplace while maintaining full operational capability. He nodded to the demonstration technician, some kid fresh out of engineering school who'd been hired to replace the senior staff Gabriel had been systematically forcing into early retirement. The kid started typing commands, and for exactly 90 seconds, everything looked perfect. Phoenix systems initialized normally, production displays showed green across the board, and Gabriel's smile grew wider with each successful startup sequence. Then the first error message appeared on the main display. Quality engineer authentication required. The kid frowned, typing faster. Just a minor authentication glitch, sir. Let me reset the connection. Access denied. Employment verification failed. What's the problem? Gabriel's voice carried that edge that executives get when their carefully orchestrated presentations start falling apart in real time. I'm not sure, sir. The production line is requesting quality certifications that don't seem to exist in our current database. Then the big message flashed across every screen in the room. Safety lockdown initiated. Production suspended. Contact primary quality engineer for resolution. I watched Gabriel's face drain of color as the magnitude hit him. This wasn't a minor technical glitch that could be fixed with a quick phone call. This was his entire business model collapsing in front of the people who controlled his company's future. Colonel Palmer stood up slowly, gathering her materials with the deliberate movements of someone whose valuable time had just been completely wasted. 23 years in military procurement had given her a finely tuned sense for contractors who promised more than they could deliver. Mr. Morrison, she said in that steel-trap voice that had probably intimidated defense contractors for decades, it appears you have significant internal issues that require resolution. Colonel, please, Gabriel stammered, sweat starting to show through his expensive suit. This is just a routine security protocol that we can resolve momentarily. Routine? Her voice could have frozen jet fuel. Your primary defense system is completely non-functional during a $2 billion contract evaluation. Your quality control expert was terminated this morning, and apparently your production line won't operate without him. She headed for the door, her team following in crisp military formation. We'll be in touch when you've resolved these operational challenges. The Pentagon team filed out, leaving behind a conference room that felt like a mausoleum. Through my laptop audio, I could hear Gabriel turning on Arya with the kind of fury that comes from watching your career implode in front of witnesses. You said this would work, he shouted. You said the systems would continue operating. The documentation indicated that production protocols were independent of individual personnel, Arya stammered, frantically swiping on her tablet like she could somehow fix this disaster with the right app. Because you didn't read the actual documentation, you read a summary report and made assumptions. My phone started lighting up with calls from A-Right's legal team, all of which went straight to voicemail. The professional recording I'd set up specifically for this moment played on repeat. You've reached Rodriguez Engineering Solutions. If this is regarding Phoenix quality protocols, please consult your existing licensing agreements. For all other inquiries, please leave a message after the tone. By 4 p.m., the industry blogs were already picking up the story. A-Right Aerospace suffers catastrophic demo failure. Pentagon contract in jeopardy after quality control meltdown. Defense contractor's $2 billion deal collapses in real time. The stock price started dropping like a stone thrown off a bridge. Reed called around 5 p.m., barely able to contain his laughter. Maxwell, you need to see this. They're interviewing Gabriel outside the building on Channel 8. Guy looks like he's about to stroke out. I pulled up the live stream on my laptop. Gabriel stood in front of A-Right's main entrance, trying to explain to a crowd of reporters how a minor personnel transition had caused a temporary production delay. Arya stood behind him, looking like she wanted to disappear into the concrete. The Phoenix system remains fully operational, Gabriel was saying, his voice cracking slightly under pressure. We're simply transitioning quality oversight to our modernized facility, which will actually improve efficiency and reduce costs for American taxpayers. One reporter wasn't buying it. Mr. Morrison, our sources indicate the entire production line is shut down because your chief quality engineer was terminated this morning. How do you plan to resume operations? Gabriel's response was pure corporate double talk about knowledge transfer, protocols, and streamlined operational frameworks. Translation: he had absolutely no idea how to restart production without me. Furthermore, Gabriel continued, sweat now visible on his forehead, our consulting partner has identified significant opportunities for cost optimization through strategic international partnerships. Another reporter jumped in. Are you confirming reports that A-Right plans to outsource defense manufacturing to Mexico? We're exploring all options to remain competitive in the global marketplace while maintaining our commitment to American defense superiority. That evening, my phone rang with a call I'd been hoping for. Nova Foster from Durham Strategic Partners. Nova was the kind of investor who'd been making billion-dollar deals since before the internet existed, and she had the track record to prove it. Maxwell, she said, I've had a very interesting afternoon. Colonel Palmer called me personally after the A-Right demonstration. In 30 years of defense, years of ball contracting, she said she's never witnessed such a complete operational collapse. She paused, and I could almost hear her smile through the phone. Our legal team spent the last 6 hours doing some fascinating research. Every patent, every manufacturing innovation that makes Phoenix actually work, it all traces back to Rodriguez Engineering Solutions. A-Right had full licensing rights, I said carefully, as long as certain employment and safety conditions were maintained. Conditions that were violated at 8:30 this morning when they fired the architect of their entire system. Exactly. So, tell me, Maxwell, what do you want to build next? This was the moment I'd been preparing for since I'd walked out of that building with security guards at my elbows. I want to build the company A-Right should have been. American-owned, veteran-operated, focused on keeping our manufacturing jobs here instead of shipping them overseas for quarterly profit bumps. Durham Strategic was prepared to invest $1.5 billion in acquiring Phoenix technology from Arite. That offer is obviously dead, but the technology still exists, and we still need someone who understands how to manufacture it correctly. The signing bonus number she mentioned made me pause and read my notes twice, plus salary, plus comprehensive medical coverage that would have saved Zara and me years of financial stress during her cancer treatment. "I have conditions," I said. "I'd be disappointed if you didn't. First, I bring my team, Sophia Martinez, the engineers who actually built Phoenix with me. They deserve to see their work succeed under competent leadership. Done. Second, no outsourcing of critical manufacturing. We build American defense systems on American soil with American workers. Period. Agreed. Third, union shop. Holden Cross and Local 847 represent our manufacturing workforce. These people have families, mortgages, kids heading to college. They deserve job security and fair wages. Absolutely. Fourth, when we announce Phoenix Industries, I want every defense contractor in the country to know exactly who built this technology and who tried to sell it to the lowest bidder." Nova actually laughed out loud. "Maxwell, I like your style. Yes, we can definitely arrange that kind of public announcement." The next morning, I stood in the conference room of Phoenix Industries' temporary headquarters, looking out at a crowd of defense reporters, industry analysts, and federal contracting officials. Sophia had driven over from Arite at 6 a.m. with her resignation letter and 3 other senior engineers. Reed was there in his capacity as federal oversight, making sure everything stayed above board. Holden brought a delegation from Local 847, all of them grinning like they'd just won the lottery. At exactly 11:15 a.m., the same time Gabriel's demo had collapsed 24 hours earlier, I signed the final incorporation documents that made Phoenix Industries official. Ladies and gentlemen, Nova. Announced to the assembled crowd, Phoenix Industries represents a new standard in American aerospace manufacturing. Built by veterans, operated by Americans, dedicated to protecting the warriors who defend our freedom overseas. The questions came fast and direct, exactly what I'd expected from experienced defense reporters. "Mr. Rodriguez, how do you respond to accusations from Arite that you sabotaged their system? I spent 22 years building aircraft to protect American troops from foreign threats. The only sabotage was Gabriel Morrison's decision to compromise those same troops' safety for quarterly profit margins. What about the 412 workers still at Arite?" I gestured toward Holden Cross. "The union representative who fought Morrison's outsourcing plan is right here with me. Any Arite employee who wants to keep building American defense systems with American hands has a job waiting for them at Phoenix Industries. Are you concerned about legal challenges from Arite?" Reed stepped forward. "Federal contracting oversight has reviewed all relevant documentation. Rodriguez Engineering Solutions holds clear title to the core Phoenix technology. Arite's claims have no legal foundation." As the press conference wrapped up, Owen texted me from school. "Dad, you're trending on Twitter. My chemistry teacher showed the class a news article about you. I'm famous by association." I smiled and typed back, "Just remember, son, sometimes standing up for what's right means taking risks. But if you plan carefully and stick to your principles, it usually works out." "Got it. Can we get pizza tonight to celebrate?" "Absolutely. You pick the place." They fired me at 8:30 a.m. for refusing to compromise American quality standards. By 11:15 a.m. the next day, I owned the very technology their entire company was built on. And 412 American workers got to keep their jobs building the systems that protect our troops overseas. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's building something better. Because in America, when you build something with your hands and your heart, you don't just own the blueprints. You own the responsibility to protect the people who depend on your work being done right. Gabriel learned too late that experience isn't something you can outsource. Integrity isn't something you can streamline. And the men who keep this country safe deserve better than good enough, built by the lowest bidder.